Hey folks, LA Little here coming to you on August 31st. I'll probably get this out on the September 1st. Labor Day this week. I keep getting questions about mega stack cap stocks. I mean, that's where the action is, right? The FANGs, the Magnificent Sevens. And, the last question I got had to do with, are they going to need to retest, regenerate, or will they retest, regenerate higher? The V shape's going to hold, right? These V bounces. Let's tackle that, expand it a little bit, and give some framework here of what's really going on. And at the same time, if you like what you see, of course, please comment, leave questions, things you might want to look at, and I'll tackle those as well as things that I like looking at. So without further ado here, let's get started. This is the FANGs. I've got it up, the ETN, the microsector. If you look at it, right, you had this steep draw, pull down. Now you got this, right? Now, if you're into classical stuff, you're going to say cup and handle. And maybe that's what it's going to end up being, right? And I don't want to belittle that stuff. It's just a lot more complicated in terms of the reads. I like to look at the charts, mostly the weeklies and the monthlies. I like to look at my MTTFs, see if they're extended. They are for the group as a whole. They're extended on the sideways as well. And so, this is going to have to make some decision pretty soon. Now, when you're extended on an MTTF just simply says mean time to failure for the trend. And it's cumulative. So the higher the number gets, the more the probability is that it's going to reset. How does it reset? Well, it has to break. It has to break either a swing point high or a swing point low. In this case, it's already bullish. So breaking a swing point high is not going to change anything. You got to break a swing point low. That low is this bar right here. And so that's the one that has to get broken. That low is 44.51 on the FANGs itself. Now, I wouldn't be so much worried about this, but more of the stocks that are inside of it. But that's the general idea. Which way is it going to break? Is it going to hold this? Well, if you notice, this low down here is lower than this low. It can come down, break it, and still not break the V. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all that it's going to come down here and do that. So that's the setup. Now, if you look at it longer term, these things are extremely bullish, right? The breakout was way back here. You've extended a long way. You got a big pullback here, but it held. Now you've got support in this area, and that should hold. So if this market is going to continue to be bullish, I would expect this area up here is probably going to hold. That gives you some resolve that the V is probably going to hold in general. Now let's look at the individual stocks. Apple was the first one. Apple's strong. There's nothing here about Apple you can't like. Here's your V, right? Comes down, does a retest regen. If I bring this over, this swing point high was 19962. You dropped into it, 196, right? V shape off of that thing. Where's the swing point low on this, and does it need to reset? Well, it doesn't need to reset, right? It's only 23%. The breakout was back here. And so the Apple can run. There's nothing to stop it. You're not extended there. You're not extended here. I would expect Apple to get much lower than this support area that you see. That's Apple. Another one I was asked about specifically, and I'll tackle it next, is Tesla. Tesla is a different story. If I go to Tesla and look at it on the weekly, and I look down here at my MTTFs, this doesn't need to be reset. This doesn't either, but it's bearish, right? It hasn't gone bullish. And it's only 40%. That means it can wallow around down here for quite a while. Now, what did it do already? It did a retest, regen on that swing point high and that one. The fact that there were two there gave it more strength, and that you would expect it. And when I first reviewed these, I said it probably looks more like a buy because those two swing point highs are there. The fact is you've already hit into them now. And so Tesla could easily set up a bearish ABCD to the downside. In other words, if it were to get under this, right, then this would activate and you'd have an ABCD to the downside. Tesla's not out of the woods, and if you look at it here on the monthly, it's still the same too. Now, again, I think I pointed this out either on a video here, or I know I did one to members. There's a head and shoulders type bottom that looks like it's brewing here. And so, I like this stock. I'd like to be long this stock at some point. I just don't know where that point is yet. And so, if it were to come back into these bars and hold them, and it doesn't really have to hold this one, although I'd rather it to. So in other words, if it holds this green support that you see, and then starts to head back up and the general market has reset, then I'd probably be much more inclined to start thinking about it more seriously. But right now, I don't know if this one's going to hold or not. It's not as strong as what you saw there in Apple. Now, the two weak ones, I'll just tackle those next. The weakest was Google of the Mag 7. And Google still is weak. There's really nothing has changed here. So, I'd said that, you need to get it up into this area up here to get you short. Your stop has to go above that. Maybe you could take it anywhere in this area here, but it can't even get there. This is just a very weak stock right now. Is it weak long term? No, it's still got a retest regen here that hasn't been tested. Now it's only 4 bars so far on the monthly. And so, I would, and actually the retest regen is all the way down to there. So basically, this could trade to 125 and still be fine. And it's at 163. Now, I know nobody wants to take a 30, 40 point haircut on that, but it still would be a buy back there. And so, I don't like this stock. If I were going to try to short one in this group, this would probably be the one. It's just hard to get the setup that you want. The other one, I think, was Amazon that we looked at that was kind of a potential if I had to choose one. And Amazon's come up and it's doing its bearish retest regen. So here's your bearish retest regen. It's right up there. It tested to the top, so it's done a full one. And then there's a second retest regen right above it. That makes it hard for it to get over. So I would expect that it will try to pull back. It's starting to get close to extended on the daily over here, and it doesn't have to do anything out here. So, this one doesn't have to break lower, and right now, I would probably think it won't break lower because it's already done it. Right? It's already done the break. Now, it could break potentially this one, and still, the V shape would hold. So Amazon probably is not going to make a new low, more than likely, right? Unless the whole market starts to tank. Now we'll take the strongest one, which was NVDA. Other than Apple and NVIDIA were the two strongest. And Apple's actually become more stronger right now, short term. But here's the same thing. NVIDIA's got its little V shape. Let's go to the weekly. It's got its V shape, and what it's showing is very extended bullish on the long term, right? This has been a huge run, but you don't have extensions over here. So in long term can get extremely extended and just stay there. And so you can't bank on this one as much as those. When I did all the data years ago, there were some oddities out here. Now, part of it could have been that I was only doing 25 years of data at the time. But now that I have, 35, almost 40 years of data, it still is not showing much difference than what it was back then. So if we look at this, though, V-shapes here, right, coming back a little bit. Can it break that swing point low? Well, yeah, it actually already has. This was the break here. So can it break this one? Probably not. There's the, I had said at the time, the first time I looked at these, I said this would be the buy area. It was. And now you're back up here. This is kind of no man's land. What you really want it to do is just come back into this support area that you see here in the green, right? That's probably the buy. And more than likely, it's probably going to be fine for now. Meta was another one that, I'd said that already hit the highs. Was probably not going to make new highs. It's still up there clamoring, try to make new highs. It just doesn't want to fall. We've had this huge run all the way back up to brand new highs on this guy after a massive drawdown, right? Went from 384 to 188. That's massive. If you sit through that and you got back up here, you know, kudos to you for having the patience to sit that long. Now this one needs to reset though, right? 94. And so, you know, when I look at this guy, reset is, well, that's interesting. Reset right now is this swing point low. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll probably get a swing point low here before too much longer though. You get a couple more bars. So, you know, this one actually may give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just need one more week. So next week, end of the week, this one's going to print as a swing point low. So break there to reset this. That's probably a buy down there if it happens. And what else? Did I miss any? Microsoft. Microsoft's been kind of weak. It will probably find its legs at some point, but it's been fairly weak. Doesn't need to reset. It's extended on the long-term time frame. It's been bearish, 67 now, so this is probably going to break a swing point high. This swing point high here. There's another one over there as well. The retest regen is here, bearish, and that's holding it so far. So, you know, it's kind of doing what it was supposed to do. Notice that there was a lot of swing point lows here on Microsoft. It did break one of the three. Can it break another one? Can it come down here and break this one? Yeah, that's possible. But you know, this one, if it were going to break this, I would think all of them are going to break or at least get much lower. Microsoft's probably going to hold. So if it were to get down deep into this, it's probably a buy. So in general, FANGs, they still look fine. They're going to lead the market? No, not right now. Everything else is leading the market. You need resets on the MTTFs in general. It just needs to happen. If I pull this over and show you the setup here, you know, here's your weeklies. These are the MTTFs, right? The major indexes and sectors as of today. These are already extended, and so all of these are extended. And then you've got all of these are about to get extended, right? And they're all bullish. You know, so that's what I keep talking about, right? These need to reset. They're to the point where they need to start resetting. And so whether they reset this week, next week, 3-4 weeks from now, somewhere along the line they're going to reset. If we get out into October, you get another one, XLV. So when I think about it from that perspective, I expect that this market's going to struggle as we go forward, and that's why I suspect these stocks are probably going to come back in some. Do they necessarily break? Probably not. Probably going to hold because most of them don't need to reset anymore. That's where we're at on these. Have a great one. Take care.